Not leaving important things to the last minute is very good advice for living. And so I'm sure that a number of you have pre-planned your funerals. Yes? Maybe even what is going to appear on your grave marker, knowing everything, of course, except the final date. But what people put on their cemetery stones is often revealing and sometimes even causes a smile. Here are some classic epitaphs. Here lies Johnny Yeast, pardon me for not rising. Here's another. Here lies the body of Jonathan Blake, stepped on the gas instead of the brake. Here's one from the Old West. Here lies Lester Moore, 4 slugs from a 44, no less, no more. This one's from Massachusetts. Under the sod and under the trees lies the body of Jonathan Pease. He is not here, there's only the pod. Pease shelled out and went to God. Now, if you keep those epitaphs, or at least the spirit of them, in mind for a moment, I'm going to read to you a very short story and see if you can find a common thread between them. As a man was standing in line at the bank, he overheard a commotion. A woman was shouting, "Where will I put my money? Where will I put my money? I have all my money and my mortgage here. What will happen to my mortgage?" Well, it turned out that she had misunderstood the small sign on the counter that read, "We will be closed for Good Friday." Since Easter was not uppermost in her thoughts because, well, she thought that the bank was going to close for good that coming Friday. What do those epitaphs and that story have in common? Well, they tell us as believers, as Christians, that we can even smile at death. That Jesus, by dying and rising from the dead, has defanged death. And we can even find aspects of it a bit humorous. The other thing those two stories tell us is that if we don't understand Good Friday, we're clearly not going to understand Easter Sunday. And we get it all wrong. But as people who believe that Jesus died and rose from the dead, we have a lot to smile about. And I would like to offer you this Easter Sunday morning 3 thoughts about Easter that I hope will bring joy to your heart and perhaps even a smile to your face. The first is this. Easter shows us the force of God's love. Now let me illustrate that for you. And it's from something that happened in Hanover, Germany. There was a woman there who did not believe in God. And she certainly said she didn't believe in any resurrection of the dead. So she laid it down in her will that when she died, her grave was to be covered by slab after slab of granite and marble. and they were to be glued together and chained and strapped and locked. And she left this note in her will that she did not believe in the resurrection of the dead, but if there were one, she didn't want to have any part in it. Lo and behold, a tiny seed that was below those slabs of stone began to sprout in the ground. And little by little it grew into a large tree. And as that trunk expanded and grew in strength, it pushed those slabs of stone right up. And the chains and the straps broke. And the grave of that woman was wide open. Now, if the force of nature, a tiny seed, could open a grave, look at what the force of God's power, God's love, did for Jesus. And push that stone away, and the one who was dead now lives. And that same power of God's love for all of us baptized will open our graves one day, and we will rise, all by the power of God. We see the force of God's love. Easter also tells us that God validated the life and death of his Son at Easter, but did more than that. All of the good and the beauty in Jesus' life continues because Jesus lives because of the resurrection. He lives and is with us now. He did marvelous things during his life on earth and set a powerful example for us. Just during these past few days of Holy Week, we've looked at some of those instances. How Jesus at the Last Supper on Holy Thursday night knelt down and washed the feet of his disciples. How in the garden later on, he allowed Judas to kiss him with a kiss of betrayal. How someone in that garden, whose name was Malchus, had his ear cut off by one of Jesus' apostles. And Jesus healed that ear right in the Garden of Gethsemane. How Jesus stood before Pontius Pilate and didn't speak very much, but taught a powerful lesson about who he was. How Jesus stood before King Herod and didn't say a word. How when Jesus was walking through the streets of Jerusalem carrying his cross, he stopped to comfort the women of Jerusalem. How Jesus thanked Simon of Cyrene for helping him to carry his cross. How Jesus on that cross forgave all of the people that put him there, including you and I. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And on that cross, in his own suffering, he heard the confession of that good thief named Dismas, who'd asked him, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus says, this day you will be with me in paradise. And then bloody, bludgeoned, weak, Jesus finally bowed his head and died.